Hey, welcome to the live stream, everyone. I hope that you're doing well. This is Marie Hopkinson from Chinese Medicine Podcast. We're just waiting for this to get set up, get started. I'm going to play a little promotion video for my course that's starting soon while I get some questions ready. But this is a Q&A live stream. So if you are watching this in the post and you just want to just jump straight to the questions, you can skip through this video if you like, and then we'll get into the questions. I'll let some people jump in, but please feel free to put your questions in the comments, and I'll endeavour to answer them. I'm just going to put that in the comments there while I do this now. I'm not that great at this technology. Let's see if we can get this working. Here we go. Welcome to Chinese Dietetics with Marie Hopkinson. I'm a herbalist, acupuncturist, and I can't wait to have you enroll in this course and get on this journey of discovery together. Now, in this video, I'm going to talk about what is in the course. So if you're the person that wants to listen along while you scroll through the web page, you can do that. All the stuff's below this video. You may also just want to listen and do what you're doing. Get busy cleaning your house or whatever you're doing. So what's going to be in this course and why should you do it? So firstly, we're going to just go step by step what's in it. So the first couple of weeks, we're going to talk about what is digestive health in Chinese medicine. Like, what is your spleen and your stomach? To understand what role our gut and our digestion play in health, how they're central to that. Now, if you're a practitioner wanting to join in this course, the first 1 and 2 weeks are stuff you will already know as a practitioner, but it may be useful for you to listen to that stuff because it will help you to realize or learn how to explain it in a more colloquial, easy to understand way. Okay. Then from then on, session 3 and forwards is going to be at practitioner level for this particular topic. And practitioner level is at, as in, it's the same level as what I would teach if I was teaching it at a university level course, which I have done in the past. Now, the pitch and all these classes are designed to help you in your own self-care as the primary thing. So you don't need to be a practitioner to do this course, and most of the people enrolled already, because some people are already enrolled in it, are not practitioners. They're self-practitioners, as in they want to be healthy for themselves, for your community, for your family. So the third session is about properties of food. So you may not realize that foods have nutritional values like carbohydrates and proteins and all that, fats and things like that. And, in a Western sense, we think about calories and, grams of like properties of the foods in that way. But in Chinese medicine, we think about foods in terms of energetic qualities. So are they cold? Are they hot? Are they cool? Are they warm? Are they neutral? We think about foods in terms of flavors, and the flavor informs the function. So if something's bitter, if something's, I was going to say cold, but if something's bitter or it's pungent or it's salty or it's sour, these flavors make our body do certain things. So it makes it easier to learn the foods, like similar to when you learned herbs and you were just told, if you were a herbalist, I'm saying, you were just told, you got to memorize all this. Or you learned acupuncture points, you just got to memorize all this. And yeah, there are some things you memorize, but if we think about foods in terms of their properties as a general sense, it makes it really easy to understand and to remember what they do. So, you know that if a food is sour, it's going to contain, it's going to constrain. That's what sour does. If food's pungent, it's opposite. It's moving, it's spreading. And if it's moving and spreading, it's probably going to have an action on the wood element, which is the liver qi and all the rest of that sort of stuff. So I'm going to make it easy to to use, because that's what I do. That's what I'm good at. Then we're going to talk about in the weeks to come the properties of different things. So one week is on fruit and vegetables, one week is on the properties of meat, poultry and fish, another week on the properties of seeds, nuts, grains and beans. And when we go through properties of these things, it'll teach you, like, when should I use it and when should I avoid this? When's appropriate to use it? And sometimes it's never appropriate to use something for you because of what's going on for you. You might have been told, oh, you've got dampness or you've got spleen Qi deficiency, that kind of stuff. But also you have seasons of life. So you might be young, middle-aged, older, aging. There's certain foods that we should use at certain seasons. Also for women's health, there's a whole week on that. So, you know, like if you just given birth, the foods you should eat are going to be different. And again, if you're a practitioner, it's great to know this stuff because these are things you can really help your patients with, supporting them after the consultation, follow-up care. This kind of stuff is awesome. It's really great to provide that. So 1 week is on the properties and recipes for medicinal wines and medicinal teas, how to make these things, how to make them at home. Then we're talking about Western diet, like what are these different things in the Western diet, like alcohol, coffee, spices, treats, sugar, fast foods, takeaway foods. What do they actually do? And what placement might they have? And to think about them in, should I use them in moderation? How much, you know, this kind of stuff. You'll understand that by the end of that class. Then another session is called What Diet's Right for Me? So it's going to help us think about, now that we know all the properties of these individual things, what about the Mediterranean diet? What about the vegan diet? What about the vegetarian diet? What about the paleo diet, the carnivore diet? I mean, there's other diets like Atkins diet, Pritikin diet, low carb diet, keto diet. I don't know, there's more. Diet. We'll go through all of those things and you'll be able to get an understanding of what is that doing in Chinese medicine. And you'll also then be able to, by that point, weigh up a new diet that may come about against the principles of Chinese medicine, which you would have learned in the week 1 and 2. There's a whole week on foods as medicine for children and babies. Weaning children is a really important part of Chinese medicine to keep kids healthy, to stop them from getting more sick or avoiding allergies, and setting kids up for health throughout their life. So that's an important one. There's a week on women's health, so after birth, postpartum, menstrual cycle. So there's certain recipes that can be used for menstrual pain that are foods that you can get. You can buy these things. You can go to the Chinese food shops and buy them. So Oriental supermarkets get them. You can also think about foods that are already in existence and how can we use those things. And then the last week is on longevity and seasonal eating. So what should we do in winter, summer, spring, fall, autumn, and how should our diet be different in those seasons, and how that might set us up for longevity, and thinking about more stages of life. Like I said, you're a young person, you're a middle, you're an elderly person. What should you be doing for those things? So it's a really comprehensive course. I have tons of experience. You can click the link below to read all the stuff that I've done. But trust me, I'm good at doing this. I've got millions of not millions, hundreds of videos. Literally, there are more than several hundred on YouTube that I have made over the years on these kinds of topics. And I've also had more than 15 years experience in teaching this topic and teaching at university level in Chinese medicine. So I've taught acupuncture students, and I've taught like Chinese massage students, oriental massage, shiatsu students, this kind of stuff over the years. And I've been in practice since 2001. I went to China. I've been to China 13 times to study and just shop. So things I'm very familiar with Chinese culture. Did my Chinese medicine course, and then I went to Hangzhou for 3 months when I first did my course. I've also got a master's degree in international health, nothing to do with this topic, but I'll just tell you that I have that. So I have lots of degrees. I've studied with Dr. Arno Versluis in the Oriental classical Chinese medicine. So that's the herbal medicine system I practice now, which is a pulse-based medicine, pulse-based herbal medicine system. What else? Like, I just love Chinese medicine, and I love teaching it. I love helping people to live a better, healthier life, and that's why I've done this course. So this is part of a 1-year program that people can do to learn about how to be healthy ultimately for themselves. And this is the middle section of that. But I'm also, why I'm making this video is because I'm opening this course up to people that just want to enroll in this. So I hope you find this useful and helpful. I don't want to linger on about, I don't know if there's anything else I can tell you. Click the link below to sign up, and you can be part of the course. If you've got a question about the logistics of it, the timing or something like that, if it's not on the web page or you can't find it, just send me an email and we can kind of go from there. And I really look forward to teaching you and having you as part of the course. Awesome. Thanks.
Awesome. All right. Hopefully you can hear me nice and loud. I had to turn the mic up from the beginning of the video. And yeah, I'm not sure why there's another video playing in the background of this one, but anyway, there we go. It's gone away now. So welcome everyone. I hope that the volume's great. If it's not, I can turn the mic up even a bit more. So I've got a few questions here already, and I've got heaps on the channel that I haven't answered for ages. I just haven't had time to do these streams. So I've got about an hour now before the next patient. So I think, well, the first patient. So I thought I'd jump on and do a little stream. So we've got one here from Chris that says, what are the best herbs for depression and anxiety due to unresolved grief, chronic CP, sorry, I can't read this, too tiny on that side, CPTSD, some kind of PTSD, a different kind, a new type of PTSD. Complex post-traumatic stress disorder. There you go. They change these things. They make new ones up all the time. And burnout. Okay, so I'll answer this question with, like as I usually do, with a kind of an explanation of how Chinese medicine thinks about these things. So the herbs for, like, okay, I have to be really careful about how I talk about this as well, because I'm not allowed to make any claims that we can treat these disorders, right? So as in, if you're saying CPTSD is a disorder, like we can't say that Chinese medicine can treat that, because it's a condition, right? And these are just the rules for Australian practitioners. And on this channel, I try not to do that, because I want to keep going and doing what I'm doing. So this is educational. And I'm just going to talk about how a practitioner would go about thinking about that. So if you were learning this in Chinese medicine school, so firstly, if whatever the pattern of disharmony that a practitioner determines that you have, it wouldn't matter whether it was from, like, it sort of would matter, but it sort of wouldn't matter necessarily what if it's come from unresolved grief or not. That if that pattern is manifesting in your body, the herbs that treat that, they treat that pattern physically, and also the emotional stuff is kind of connected to that. Now with acupuncture, there are points that have much more of an emotional use, just a one-off emotional use. Like, so there's points that are for behavioral things that can happen to you. And we can also then think of those organs, like the lungs, the metal element, the lungs, and to a lesser extent, the large intestine, about grief and sadness and like unresolved grief. And there's certainly a lot more that acupuncturists would be able to, I can't say that they'll be able to do more than a herbalist would do. But that's definitely an area of, and especially some acupuncturists, a very special interest area of some acupuncturists. So, to sort of go, well, there's certain sequences and styles of points that are used for these emotional traumatic things, helping people get through unresolved, especially when you say the word unresolved, like that indicates it's been there for a while, it's lingering there, it's something that's hard to get rid of, and that definitely relates to metal. There aren't really herbs that are like, this is a metal herb for grief. It just, so as far as I know, like there aren't any systems of herbs that kind of practice like that. Now that could be a new thing. Someone could invent that, I guess. If a patient had unresolved grief, it would probably affect their lungs, and they might have things like, now I'm not saying you do have this or the person you're asking about theoretically does have this. People may have some kind of lung issues like shortness of breath, easy get colds or flus, pneumonia, lung issues. For some people, it's not so much a lung disease. It's just that they're very susceptible to get colds and flus. They seem to almost never get well. Or if they get a cough, it just seems to last a long time, hard to get rid of, that kind of stuff. And that's a physical thing. So herbs, like there's all the herbs in the background there that you can see, not all the herbs, but some of the herbs. A herbalist goes about treating things physically and then entrusts that the emotional stuff will then resolve. Now, there are some formulas that have emotional indications as part of it. So, for instance, you might feel in the pulse that a patient has like something going on in a particular area of their body by that position of their pulse. And the patient hasn't told you any emotional stuff. And then you sort of might ask them a question because you know that area of their body, or some disharmony there could relate. So it's particularly the heart, like the first two positions, the heart and the lungs, are on the sun positions. Now, if those positions are raised up, then it means something's going on in that area. And that can be very broad here. Right? So why would that happen? It could happen because you're getting a pathogenic attack. You're getting a cold or a flu. And that would be the most obvious thing. And I'm not going to ask a patient straight off the bat, like, are you dealing with unresolved emotional stuff? Like, maybe not in that way. Sometimes I do. I'm a bit direct. But I might probably rule out the cold or flu first because it makes the most obvious sense. And if they don't have any of that, but you think, oh, that sun position is still, like, that's really standing out and it's really big. In some systems, they'll call it floating or superficial or big or, whatever, something like that. Then the body is saying, the emperor, the heart, is saying something needs to be done about this area. It's showing you that, especially one aspect of pulse diagnosis is kind of detecting what's the most obvious thing there, like as in the most, standout thing, especially when you're a new practitioner. And I used to say this to my students, like, if you're in the state of feel, I've gone off track here with the question, so I'll get to the the answer to this is that there isn't like one herb that's like, this is going to make all your dreams come true and solve all your problems. It doesn't work like that. I'll give you an idea of one of the herbs that we could use, but it's not so much for depression and grief specifically, but just for feeling that anxiousness in a sec. So what was I going to say? Yeah, so when you're feeling that pulse, I would normally tell my students, like, if you're getting confused and they're sort of like, oh, I don't know what it is, I don't know what's what, and that's normal when you're first learning. Sorry, YouTube's just giving me some kind of recommendation. I'm using the wrong stream rate or something like that. I don't know how to fix it now. Sorry. It's too late now. I've started the stream. So that if there's something that's standing out to you on the pulse as a new practitioner, like at the very least, the body is saying this needs to be paid attention to. And that's often the case with that. It's almost like when the person's ready to deal with that, they could be carrying it for a while, and then something will happen in their life that sort of triggers them to, pay attention to it. So usually we don't sort of dig around with, trying to dig into your past for no reason. But if something's coming to you and you think, it's time to kind of help me deal with that. So if you are in that place and you're trying to deal with that, the best thing that you can do in terms of foods, because herbs, you can't prescribe them to yourself, okay? You just can't. Like, you need a herbalist to prescribe them to you. Like, I'm very careful on this channel I don't promote people go and buy herbs and prescribe them to themselves, because there's lots of things that can go wrong if you don't need those herbs. Plus, if you don't need that formula, it's just wasting that resource of your body. And people have died from taking Chinese herbs inappropriately. Like, there's dangers with acupuncture in the fact that needles are going in you, so it needs to be done by a practitioner. And there's dangers in terms of herbs that, like, substances can interact with other substances, and like you may be overloading your body on things it doesn't need. Now, foods are a bit of a different thing, and the one herb I'm going to mention is used as a food, and that's called Baihe lily bulb, right? So as a self-treatment, so Chris, I'm not sure if you're a practitioner or an interested person, which I assume the second one, because that's what this channel's for. Who this channel's for? Like, Baihe, I'll write it in the chat. And now I do have a whole video on it, and I've got it here on the shelf somewhere. Let me just have a quick look. I'll have a quick look. Might be in the other room, because I've got 2 rooms with the herbs here. Yeah, it's not here. I think I had a jar of it here and I had to use it up on a patient. So Baihe is a herb you can buy in many Oriental grocery stores. Okay, it's really easy to get. It's a lily bulb, and you can in some grocery stores buy it in the freshly frozen section. Now, if you buy it dried like this, you need to soak it before you use it as a cooking thing. But there's various recipes that are used with Baihe. Now, what does Baihe do? It does actually act on the lungs, because its signature is white. So it's a white herb, and it produces like a white, sweetish kind of, not sugary sweet, but sweetish kind of a liquid when you boil it. So you could make a tea out of it. You can definitely cook and eat that herb. Now, Chinese culture will make Baihe and celery as like a stir fry together. Shameless plug for the course that I'm starting soon, but that's the kind of stuff I'll teach you about how to use these things. Not just that you can use them, but to give you tips and tricks about how to cook with them and what to do with them. So Baihe is one of these things that's a food and a medicine. Now, in a medicine sense, like medicinally, we use a large dose of this herb when we do use it for this type of vexation, anxiety, where a person's like really agitated. So it's not so much, I'm not saying this is a herb for unresolved grief, but like it does, on one hand, if you're going through that was what I was trying to say before I got sidetracked by my own self, which happens, is you're going through this unresolved grief, you're dealing with that, you might be actively dealing with it with a counsellor or a psychologist or something like that. You want to do everything you can to support your lungs, your lung qi, even if you're not sick, because it's going to take a toll on that. So what would those things be? Actually more like breath work, like breathing exercises, and you may already be doing these kinds of things. Like any sort of breathing exercises, and things that support your breath, and even exercise, like if you're unwell, you're overweight, unfit is the word. thinking of. It might just be a matter of walking. It might just be a matter of committing to walking every day, being outside in the fresh air. Like, this kind of stuff sounds just simple and obvious, but like sometimes we need to remind ourselves to do these things. So burnout is a different issue. Now, I actually have a whole series on my channel about burnout, and it's a really good one to watch. It's like a 3-part series, especially the first part, because we kind of define what burnout is. And burnout is a word that's bandied around by people like a bit of this, bit of that, like could mean lots of things, right? For some, technically it isn't, it's basically you feeling a dissatisfaction with your job. Like, it's related to a workplace phenomena. That's how the WHO defines it. It's when other disorders have been ruled out. But I understand people use that word burned out just because they feel that. They feel like, I've lost my mojo, I've lost my drive. And definitely in that series, like, go on the channel if you haven't already, watch that series, right? To kind of understand it. And in that series, I sort of show you within the 5 elements how we can kind of think about that. So grief relates to the metal element, which is your lungs and your large intestine. And it seems to more affect, for some people it does affect their large intestine, like they get constipation or it's hard to let go. It's not so much, I mean, it could be diarrhea, but when you get diarrhea, it's more relating to deficiency of the spleen or the water, like the earth or the water element, whereas constipation is like usually a heating up in the large intestine often, and it just can't, or it's losing its ability to push out. So for the most part, emotional things relate to the yin organs, the zung organs of the pair. Okay, so it's the lungs. Which is the grief. Okay, so hopefully that's answered that question. If there's a follow-up to that, then just place that in the comments. I've got some other questions here. Hi, RK. It's good to see you on the stream again. It's just a very impromptu stream that I wasn't planning to do until this morning. I woke up early. I was like, I could get, because you have to prepare. You have to plug in all the cameras and do all the bits and pieces that you're going to do and everything like that. So yeah, I hope that's helpful to you. And I don't want people to think that I'm being rude by saying, oh, I can't, now where is, I don't know where my, I don't know where my camera is. My camera's here on this screen, but if I do this other, I can't find it here. This is not great. Oh, okay. There we go. I've got a camera here. Okay, we got that. Right, we're going to get rid of this. Got another question here. Now, this is from Instagram, this question. Yeah, so Jackie Oz said best herbs for anxiety. So it'd have to be, I'm not going to put that question on the screen just because I have to screenshot it and that, but just that follow-up question that Jackie Oz said, best herbs for anxiety. I thought I was going to sneeze in. I think I am. No, I'm not. It's by her. It's got to be by her, as in, there's plenty of Chinese herbal formulas that that a herbalist can use, but there's no point in me telling you those things because you need them to be prescribed by a practitioner. It's really dangerous if you're taking the wrong thing, if it's not right for you. Like, anxiety is a really complex thing in Chinese medicine. It involves like many facets of how we think about what could be going on. So anxiety could be relating to, maybe I will screenshot this because we're going to talk about this for a bit. Not that screenshot. Hang on a second. What have I done here? Like, anxiety can relate to a feeling of mental restlessness, like, and there can be some heat kind of associated with that. Now, I may be able to, let me see if I can do this. Put my iPad on the screen. can do this really easily in Zoom, but I don't think I can do it that easily here. I think that's question 4. Okay, I'm just going to put this little question on here. Okay, great. We've got that on there. So anxiety can be complicated. Okay, so on one hand, we think about the this is why you need to see a practitioner. Okay, it's not just a matter of taking these herbs. Now, you can Baihe is a pretty commonly used food, and that's why I'm saying it's one of these things. It's food and medicine. And if you feel this sort of a restlessness with the anxiety, that's what this herb mostly deals with. It's like what happens is you're lacking nutrition in the pericardium, basically. Like it can start off with, or a person who's prone to getting blood deficient. It's probably getting a bit complicated for people now. And then when something gets deficient, there's less of it. So what that liquid that's there kind of heats up, and that's a metaphorical thing. But that heating up makes you feel really restless. Like you feel like, that kind of thing inside you. And there's also for some people this vacillation of, I want to do this and then I don't want to do that. And then I want to, feeling like hungry, but then they're not hungry. That's what Zhang Zhongjing kind of talks about in the line in the Jingwei about this particular formula. So the Baihe formulas have been around for 2,000 years, and they revolve around this one herb, Baihe, and they kind of it's combined with other herbs in different formulas. So by itself, the Baihe can be used as like just to sort of keep people calm a little bit, like just keep their pericardium a bit relaxed, a bit less heated up. And look, that's what society does to us. It's a kind of we can easily get anxious and stressed out from from sort of life, from society at the moment, right? It's just that's part of life, right? There's lots of stuff to get annoyed and get anxious about. Another part of anxiety can be fear and worry and sadness. So if it's more sad and disappointment and things like that, that's part of it, then that's going to be involving the metal element in the lungs. If it's mostly for most people, it could be fear, and like a worry that's a fear-based kind of worry, or a shock, or something like a person that's easily startled. That's even the heart. So it's really complicated, and it's going to be based on what your Chinese medicine diagnosis is. So it is something that you should see your practitioner about. A common symptom people have with anxiety is relating to the earth element, which is the ruminating thoughts that just don't go anywhere. They just kind of go around and around and around, and they don't kind of go anywhere. Before we get to the next question, we'll come back. This is a great one. This is an easy one. Some of these questions are easy, which is good. I like the hard ones too. I enjoy that, but sometimes I feel like it's taking a long time to answer something. Maybe shouldn't be taking so long. Before we get to this question, this is going to be question 5. I would just want to say that I've done this giveaway for 10,000 subscribers, and it's still open. I'm not going to do the draw until probably tomorrow. I'll make a little stream. So if people want to get in on that prize draw and they haven't, now my plan was I'm going to put the link in here so you can get in the prize draw. The plan was to do some more live streams in the time between the 10,000 subscribers to the prize draw. And I just haven't, I think of these things that I don't have time to do the things I think I'm going to do. Maybe I need some by her. It's not that I don't want to do them. It's just that I can't fit them all in. I feel like I always assume there's more time in the day and the week than there actually really is. I think that's the problem. Anyway, so the prize draw is still open. So if people would like to be in that prize draw, you're welcome to join into the prize draw. And you can just sign up there. You put your email, and you just need to follow the instructions there. It just says you've got to follow us somewhere. So you're probably already following us on YouTube and social media somewhere. Come on a TikTok. Like, I have a TikTok. I don't do a lot on the TikTok, but I will be putting more on the TikTok. Anyway, we got a question here, and then I'll get to the next one. Delilah, welcome, Delilah. I haven't seen you on the stream. It says, anyway, I'll get to your question in a sec. So Jackie Oz, a second question here, says, would your acupuncture treatment include cupping? How would we know what we need when making appointments? Yeah, okay, this is a good question, and it's because there's no, on one hand, it's good because practitioners should have the freedom to practice how they want to practice, but I get that for patients it can be confusing. Now, in Australia, we're governed by AHPRA, which is the AHPRA is the overarching body, and the Chinese Medicine Board of Australia is a governing body, right? So that governs people who are registered as an acupuncturist. That title is a registered title, acupuncturist. Many people can practice cupping because it's not a protected practice. Acupuncture even itself, sticking the needles in, isn't a protected practice. It's only a protected title. So that's not what you asked about this question, but that is why you see so much variance in between in practitioners doing what they do, and how they charge. Now, why I'm mentioning AHPRA is because part of the regulation of being a registered acupuncturist in Australia is practitioners aren't allowed to be deceptive or misleading. And for some people, it can be confusing when they book an appointment, what's included or what's... Now, I'll give you two examples, right? You get practitioners, people like myself, that do particular things and that's just all included in whatever the patient... So whatever the patient needs is kind of included. Now, that's up to the practitioner, as in up to me. So I've had some patients ask me, can I do this, this and this? And in some cases, it's not appropriate. One is if they want to do too many things at once, it might flare them. Worse, we won't know, So I'm pretty cautious sometimes the first time I see a new patient. It really depends on what's going on with them. But I have had patients that have said, I just want cupping and that's all that I want. So in Australia, practitioners have the freedom to charge patients however they want to, as long as it's not being misleading. So they can't sort of say, like, okay, I'll give you the second example I was thinking of is this example where you are sort of somehow misled that it's all part of it. Like there's a list of things that's there, like, Dr. Johnny does da 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 da, and then you think you ring up the clinic and you say, oh, I want to do acupuncture and cupping, and they go, yeah, no worries, and they book you in. And some practitioners sort of get away with it because of this English language barrier, right? And they sort of, because there's many, I'm sure in other countries, but in Australia there's a lot of Chinese people doing Chinese medicine. Well, I wonder why that is, because it is their medicine. It's part of Chinese culture. And then the patient comes out to pay, and they thought it was going to be $50 or $100, and now they're billed $150, and they're like, oh no, that's the cupping charge. Like that's the extra charge for the cupping. So you have in Australia two things governing practitioners in that way. One is they can't mislead people even if they're not registered. Like it could be an ACCC issue. I'm not sure what country you're in, Jackie, but if you're in America or something like that, I'm sure that there's some kind of recourse for people if they've been misled. For me, what I do is if I do those treatments, if I can do those treatments. Now, there's some things with acupuncture that are not things I practice. Like, for instance, Electroacupuncture. I don't even have an electroacupuncture machine anymore. I mean, I do have one, but it's like in the cupboard and I haven't used it for probably 15 years. Now, I know how to use it because I've taught students how to use it and I've used it at college. But I don't use that as the routine of my practice. So if a patient particularly wanted something like that, then I'd have to say, no, yes, I do, or no, I don't do it. So yeah, for me, there's sometimes where cupping, the patient wants to do cupping and it might not be appropriate for what's going on for them. And you just have hopefully they can have it explained and then they understand why. But for the most part, yeah, if they want to do that and, you know, then we'll kind of do that. I have had patients in the past that have said, I want to do this particular thing, and they've researched this particular style of acupuncture. Like they want, I had a patient once that wanted the bleeding under the tongue, like points bled under the tongue. This was at least 20 years ago, like when I'd first graduated, and he had looked me up somehow. Now I've never really promoted that I did that, and I didn't. There was no website back then either, and there was, you know, he just sort of found me off the. I think he'd found me off the internet, but it wasn't like, you know, this was back in 2001. You just got a website and you were like, "Ooh, special! I had a website." Anyway, so, you know, he wanted that particular thing and I knew how to do it. So I did it for him. A practitioner can't do something they're not competent in. So if they've never done it, you know, most practitioners have been trained in cupping, but some don't practice it that often. So they don't feel that confident in it, or maybe that's just not part of their practice, right? They're not set up to be able to do something. Some particular treatments like bleeding methods, they're just not set up. They have to have particular waste disposal things for those things. Getting a bit off track here, but I thought this was going to be I just love talking about stuff. I thought it was going to be an easy question to answer. But so how would you know when you're making an appointment? You should ask the practitioner. Feel free to ask them, right? What you need. You could either ask them in the first consultation if you've already booked the consult with them, or call their clinic and ask to speak to the practitioner beforehand. Like most practitioners are willing to do that for new patients. Like, I mean, maybe you're just so busy with patients that you don't have any time to do that. But sometimes the receptionist, if they're very busy and they've got a receptionist, they may have a chat with you and explain the process. You know, beforehand, and that's fine. Like if you're looking for a practitioner that's going to become your doctor for maybe the rest of your life, right? Why can't they give you 5 minutes on the phone to have a chat about that stuff before you do that, right? Now, I have plenty of patients that don't become the patient for the rest of their life. They're like just do one treatment and off they go, and you never see them again. And that's fine. Maybe they didn't need any more treatment. So I can understand why some practitioners might be a bit reluctant to, you know, maybe it's you know, spending quite a bit of time it's a bit of a time investment for some people. Okay, we're going to get this one for Delilah. Two sort of things here. Oh, this is good. YouTube has got a new thing with the questions now where they're putting like numbers with them. Like people who've, or maybe they're just rating you number 1, 2, and 3. I don't know how that's working, but there's a little crown there. I think it's saying questions in order, which is great. I've got some questions from others to answer as well, but we will. I'll do these ones first. Let me put this one. So we're going to do Delilah's question. Can't believe catching you live. I'm just going to put this. It's a bit of a big one. We'll put it like that. I'll put me down. Trying to fit everything in the screen. Okay, can't believe I'm catching you live. I have very irregular periods since past 2 years. Do you think regular cupping or acupuncture would help, and should I take herbal medicine? Yeah, so Western doctors just say lose weight. Okay, well, losing weight could help. I mean, losing weight can help a lot of things, but it's not treating the source of the problem necessarily. And sometimes that can come across as really, really harsh. excuse me, it was a weird cough right on the microphone. I was like sort of laughing, but then the cough came out. You know, like I'm just saying, like, yeah, it's not a it's not a great response for a doctor to say just to say that, right? So there's a few reasons why your cycle can be irregular. One is you're blood deficient. Now, these aren't the only reasons. These are the main reasons, okay? I have to say that because there's always one person that's got the rare reason. Other practitioners watch, oh, you didn't say that thing. You didn't do this. So blood deficiency means you don't have enough blood. So a menstrual cycle is a reflection of blood for a female, right? It's a reflection of the health of blood. So if you don't have, it's reflecting that you're ready to procreate. Right? So if something's going on and your cycle is lacking the flow, like blood, it's lacking the ability to produce the blood, then it may become like scanty, like less blood, or sometimes irregular because there's just on some occasions just not enough resource to make the blood. Now, the next step from that kind of patient would be amenorrhea, which is no period, like the bleeding just completely stopping. And you see this with people that are athletes, like they might be, really highly pushing their body. And there's a link in Chinese medicine between sweat and blood. So sweat is the fluid of the heart in TCM. And they also think of sweat containing a small amount of yang, which that's what blood contains. That life force of you contains yang. So when you sweat a lot, for some people, I've had some patients that wanted to get pregnant and they had a regular-ish cycle, but it probably wasn't heavy, like as in it's not good to be heavy, let's say, but somewhere in between it was lighter than it should be. And this particular patient I'm thinking of was like a CrossFit type of patient, and like she would do CrossFit all the time, like 3 to 5 times a week, and really heavily sweating, like heavy sweating, doing this kind of stuff. And she kind of had to come to the realization on her own that if she wanted to put her body in a position to get pregnant, then that was part of it, because no amount of herbs or acupuncture is going to sort of plug that hole, if that makes sense. Okay, so what I'm saying is, if you're putting all this substance in you, but all the meantime your substance is leaking out. It's like having a tap running to fill a bucket, but there's a little tiny hole, and all the time, even it's just a tiny bit of liquid coming out all the time, but it's never going to you're never going to be able to just turn that tap off and go, right, the bucket's full. So it's draining the resource. That's the draining. Like it's the hole in the bucket is sort of draining the resource. So that could be part of it. So yeah, look, acupuncture and herbs can address these patterns of disharmony. And how we go about that, I'll just explain the other reason, right? So for irregular periods. So one is blood deficiency. So the practitioner is going to be the one that's going to help you, diagnose you. That's what they do. Usually with blood deficiency, it's symptoms such as dry skin, like other symptoms. Could be dry, withered hair, dry lips, feeling lightheaded, this kind of stuff. And look, I just want to give this caveat. I'm not giving people individual advice here. That's not what we do. These are theoretical questions. Okay? Don't have to put stuff about your personal self on here. The other reason why you can have irregular periods and irregular cycle is qi stagnation. So lack of wood energy to move the cycle. So there's plenty of blood there, but it's just not able to get moving. Now, for some people, they have both of these things at the same time. And this is why a formula in TCM, now it's not what I practice where we don't give these two things at once, but in TCM, a formula like Xiaoyasan is like so popular or so prominently used for this sort of stuff, is because it literally moves that liver qi and it tonifies blood at the same time. Now, if you saw a herbalist like me, we wouldn't do those two things at once, because we kind of want to send one message and then another message, right? We might move the qi and then tonify the blood. We don't do those two things at once because they are for the most part. Sometimes we have to do them at once, but most of the time we don't do them at once. Classical herbalists I'm talking about. So anyway, if chi is moving properly, the wood energy's job is to promote cycles like peristalsis, movements, circadian rhythm, stuff like that. Like it's responsible for this sort of stuff. Motivation, and one of the biggest symptoms of chi stagnation, if you just purely have chi stagnation, is you feel really great after exercise and you feel very shithouse if you don't do exercise. Like you're going to feel really frustrated and yucky and pent up and stuff if you don't exercise regularly, because the exercise helps move that chi. So you feel better from exercise. You don't feel more tired. Feeling tired after physical activity is a sign towards deficiency, not towards what we would say excess or stuckness. And then the next step from that tiredness, if you're deficient, would be needing to sleep in the day, or needing not even being able to do the exercise, just being so tired and so run down and that kind of stuff. So it's common to have both at the same time. And this is where it's complicated for an individual person to sort of work that out. So yes, the answer to this, part of the answer is regular. Like people need to realize with cupping or acupuncture that as a treatment, it's like a dose of the treatment. So it's not something that where you just do it once and it kind of does it, treats it. You've got to do these things regularly. Usually in most research studies, they're doing the treatment 2 times a week. I'm talking about on average 2 times a week for 6 to 8 weeks. And bear in mind, in those research studies, what they're doing is they want to get a good result. Why would you do a research study and like not get a good result? So they're not going to do the treatments like, well, there are some, but you know, we haven't got enough research being done on acupuncture in general to sort of say, you know, what's the minimum effective dose? Even with herbs, that's kind of what we want to do. Why would you have more than what you need? For many reasons, right? Cost is one of the biggest reasons. Acupuncture is not just the cost of the treatments, but the cost of the time it takes you, you know, for some people, it takes 2 hours out of their life. They've got to drive to the clinic. They've got to have the treatment. They be there for an hour, then they drive home. At the minimum, that's 2 hours out of your life, right? Regardless of the time, regardless of the money it costs you. So I'm not saying don't do that because that's my job. Being an acupuncturist, but I'm saying I'm very much well aware of those things. It's not something that's just without cost for people. But it's kind of like almost wasting the trial of it if you just do it here or there, here, there, and everywhere. If there's chi stagnation, one of the biggest symptoms for your menstrual cycle is the PMS, premenstrual tension symptoms, or a whole bunch of other terminology is kind of used for that now as well. So things like breast distension, like feeling your breasts are really sore, or even just sensitive, hypochondrial pain, so pain under the ribs, like feeling tight and stuckness. And the other symptom is sighing, so people going like that. Now, a few acupuncture points that you can use to press on yourself, you can use. So the gallbladder 21 up the top here, the side of the... get rid of this thing so I can kind of show. I'll just see if I can stand up and show you. I don't know if my camera's going to get this in the thing because I'm on my standing desk here. I could probably try to stand on the edge of the chair. So if I just show you sort of, we can't really see it. Anyway, maybe I'll move this. That's better, Marie. So under your ribs, right? So this is my breast here, and that's my ribs here. So on the side of your body, I'll stand like this so you can kind of see the side of your body. You put your hands on your hips, and right where your thumb goes, there's a little point in front of that. Now it's going to be really sensitive, like it's going to feel like, oh, that's painful. So you just use this motion. Now you can press it, but it's pretty painful to press it. And what you'll find is that that's on your gallbladder channel, and your liver channel's in front of that at the other end. So this is gallbladder 25 and then liver 13 at the kind of the front. So if you massage, if I stand on the side and I sort of do that, that's kind of what we're doing. sort of get that moving. And you might find that you go, you have a big breath after you've done that. So they're kind of self-treatment-y things you can try to. I'm just going to put this question back on the screen. Yeah, and the follow-up to your thing was something about, doctors told you to lose weight. Like, if you're really deficient and you can't exercise without massive detriment, then as a herbalist or an acupuncturist, what I would be looking at is trying to restore your function more first, rather than say, oh, you got to get out there and do some exercise, because if you've got no energy, if you're deficient, you're not going to feel good from exercise, but eventually you will, right? So, acupuncture points that would move chi. Herbs are better when there's deficiency. Herbs can be used for moving chi as well, but they're not as good for treating deficiency when because they can't put a substance in you. So that's where, yes, it can help that, but it takes time, and maybe then the patient has to address things with their diet as well. So if you're blood deficient and you're a vegetarian or a vegan and you don't do any herbs, that's a much harder situation to treat, because there's not much resource. So being a vegetarian, like going from, let's say, eating whatever you want to being a vegetarian, doesn't instantly cause you to be blood deficient. But once you are blood deficient and you're a vegetarian or a vegan, just sort of comment there, oops, I'm a vegetarian. It's harder to treat that. It's harder because there's less substance. Now, I was a vegetarian for 13 years, right? 9 years. 9 years. And all that whole time, there's no way I was going to be eating any meat. I was just like, nah, no one could convince me like that. And now I've done the carnivore. I've gone full circle to the other side. I'm not doing carnivore right now, but I did carnivore really strictly for 3 months, the first 3 months of this year. And anyway, that's not what this question's about. But what I'm saying is that I understand that, it's a tricky one. So acupuncture by itself might not be as good for you as herbs with the acupuncture. Now, I'm going to have to close up this stream soon because I've got a patient coming in about half an hour or so. So we've got about another 20 minutes or so here, I think. Cool. All right. Get rid of this one. That's all right. Oh, I'm glad you feel seen. It's really hard for me to find a time that's suitable because I'm on the other side of the world to most people. So I try to. I'm just not an early morning person. This is really early morning for me. This is 10 a.m. But you have to start early enough to get things organised, and Anyway, okay, we've got this question. If other people have questions in the comments of this stream, that's fine. You can put them in there. That's good. The course that I'm doing is starting on the 14th of September, so you can find out more about that. There's a link in the description of this video, and I'll put that link here. The 10,000 subscriber thing where I'm giving away some courses is still open as well, and that's going to be drawn soon in the next day or so. So I'll do another stream soon just to do the prize draw, but it's still open. I haven't done the prize draw yet, so you can still enter it. All right. So this is a question from Instagram, and I did answer this on one of those little videos where you answer it on a video in the Instagram, but I thought I'd do this here because it's kind of could be a bit more of a long-winded answer. Could lack of yang lead to constipation? Is this easy to treat with herbs? So yang deficiency, treating yang deficiency with herbs, you need to allow at least 3 months of being on herbs to really see what's going to happen for you. I'm talking like you should be feeling better as the treatment goes on, but to get to the point where you don't need those herbs anymore and you're still feeling good. Now, what can happen is, and like I even see this on myself, because like even though I'm a herbalist and I've got herbs here, there, and everywhere, I don't take herbs every single day just for no reason. Now, sometimes I do, not for no reason, but like if I'm sick with a cold or a flu, that reminds you, oh, I've got to take my herbs. I've got to take my herbs. Now, what happens when people are chronically unwell is they sometimes forget to take them, or they're feeling better so they don't take it. And you kind of have to come to that point of working out what's the minimum effective dose for you, right, when you're looking at something chronic. But when we first start treating things, you normally need an intensive amount of treatment, as in I'm saying taking the herbs every day properly for a certain amount of time before you can go, right, this is either the symptoms are gone or significantly reduced to the point where if I stop taking the herbs, those symptoms don't return. Like they're still at that low level, manageable. Now, why wouldn't you keep taking the herbs? Maybe that could be cost, right? It could be one of the reasons. But I will usually advise my patients, you need to allow a few months of treatment. Now, if they get better quicker, that's great. Like I'm happy if they do that. That's awesome. But when things have been going on for a long time, and yang deficiency doesn't just happen, you don't just wake up and you're yang deficient. It's a slow process that over time is kind of happening. So could a lack of yang lead to constipation? Now, it's usually the other way around. So this is not the commonest scenario. Usually lack of yang means lack of warmth, and lack of warmth is diarrhea, like looser, colder stools, stickier stools. But what people mean by constipation can mean lots of things. Like when they do go, it's loose or sticky, lots of wiping, but it's really hard to go. Like there's a lot of pushing, and they feel incomplete. They feel like I can't properly go, I can't properly empty, that kind of stuff. And certainly like feeling fatigued after using the toilet, that can be a yang, that's definitely in TCM they're going to call it qi deficiency, but that's even a type of yang deficiency, right? So they go and there's like a lot of pushing, and it's just all this effort, and they're so tired from using their bowels. One type of yang deficiency can be, in how it could be seen in the bowels is like a feeling as if they've got to go lots of times and only a little bit comes out, but it's actually quite soft or loose, or it's like little pieces of poo that comes out. These are the kinds of things that, can be considered yang deficiency in Chinese medicine. So that's pretty much the answer to that question. That was an Instagram question. Cool. All right, are there any more people that want to ask a question on this stream that you're most welcome to? Let me see if I can get this in here. No. I'm just going to look for this. I had these questions lined up ready to go, and now can't see them. Got a few questions off the just off this channel in general. Okay, I've got one about hair loss, hair deficiency. What time will the course be? Okay, so it's going to be live by GMT +8, which is my time zone, at 8 p.m. on a Sunday. So that's going to be about 8 or 7 a.m. Depends on what place you are in the USA. So early Sunday morning. And about 1 p.m. on a Sunday afternoon. Now, what will happen in the course? Yeah, I'm in Perth. The most isolated city in the world. What happens is I do the course live, and it's a 3-hour session on Zoom. So you'll get a login to the Zoom. And a lot of students actually don't log into the Zoom because they just can't do it every week, or they, they just, the time zone doesn't suit them or whatever like that. But some do log into the Zoom live. And then after 48 hours of that course, I will upload the replay, the edited version. So I don't take anything out of the course. When I do it, I have 2 cameras running. So for instance, today I'm using actually just a different camera that I don't normally use for these things, which is a lesser quality camera than my DSLR camera. So I record the course with the 2 cameras. So the quality of the visuals that you'll get will be better in the replay, slightly better than what's on the Zoom. The content's the same. I don't take anything out of the course. And then you can have access to that replay for 12 months after the enrollment of the course. So the course is designed for you to actually do it as you go. Now, if you can't come to the lives at all, there'll be opportunity. I'm giving everyone who enrolls at least a 15-minute consult with me. So it'll be one-on-one. You can have a chat on the phone or by Zoom. And that way we can kind of answer your questions. So you can do that whenever you want. You can do it at the very end of the course or halfway through or whatever. And there'll also be, depends on who enrolls from different countries, we'll make little times for people to meet up together to do little live stream Q&A. But there's also ways that people can interact. They can email me the questions, and then the following week I'll answer them, in the Zoom. And then, you might not be able to jump into the Zoom. So you don't have to come every week, okay? There's no exams, there's no assignments or anything like that. It's all just learning for your own benefit of what you want to learn from it. Now, this is at a practitioner level after the week 3. There's definitely enough for you to understand this if you've never studied Chinese medicine before. So the week 1 and 2 are really like setting the scene of what is the spleen and stomach's role in Chinese diet therapy, like what is digestion in Chinese medicine in a really deep dive. So if you've watched heaps of videos of me on YouTube, it's kind of like what I would do there, but in a much more structured way. So there's like learning outcomes. You'll know exactly what you're supposed to be doing. What else? Like there's a interactive workbook. So you don't have to do that, but it'll be basically like keeping you on track, because listening to a long thing can be boring. Like even myself, I don't like sitting there listening to people on Zoom, and I wish I could do this live for people, but everyone's in a different part of the world. And the benefit of Chinese medicine now is that we are not Chinese medicine. The benefit of the life now is we can do these things by Zoom. I'm just looking for this last question so I can answer it. Yeah, I've got 2 questions here about hair, so we might do both of these hair ones. And I have done a video on hair before. But we'll just kind of answer this again, I think. List of these. Just going to put this thing in the screen. Hopefully people can see that. So this is a question from the channel a while back. Who knows when? Oh, only recently, maybe a day ago, it says. Oh, hear a weird sound then. Okay, so this is asking about, let me just get that up so I can say it big. Oh, man. Where did I get that from? Okay, hey Marie. My hair used to be really soft and silky until I went on Accutane for 4 months, which I stopped in January 2020. Now it's very dry and brittle. So this is like 5 years later, it's still dry and brittle now. Could this be from the medication? Is it worth mentioning this to my practitioner? Also, is this a sign that my body isn't absorbing nutrients? Any help you can give me is greatly appreciated. This is from Lisa Olivia. So she's a supporter of the channel, and like I've seen lots of questions from her in the past. That's good. So look, it's all worth mentioning to your practitioner, I'm assuming you mean your Chinese medicine practitioner. It's not like there's a specific points for Accutane treatment, right? Like it's just the practitioner's going to be or have already done the diagnosis, their due diligence, hopefully in diagnosing what was going on there, and they're treating that with the herbs, with the acupuncture, treating that pattern of disharmony. So, but it's worth kind of noting when these things, it kind of helps us understand how you got to that place. So when you get deficient, right, it sounds like there's deficiency there. If your hair's not absorbing nutrients properly, or your hair's brittle and dry, that's the main symptom. Whether that cause is still there or that cause was sort of a one-off thing, that does make, it is important to know that, because partly we're not then continually looking for the cause. Okay, the cause has already happened. You've had this damage from this drug, like a fallout from taking that drug. So it sort of means that, like, it's different to someone who's a vegetarian or a vegan and they're never going to change their ways. And you're constantly trying to bang away at replenishing blood, and it's just taking it so long to do that because the cause isn't able to be addressed. The cause could be a stress kind of cause as well, that people just can't, get out of that stressful situation. Maybe it just is what it is and they have to deal with that. So these things can be multifaceted causes, right? You may have some of those dietary causes in there in the mix, as well as the physical cause of the drug side effect. Either way, it's definitely damaged your ability to make enough blood to nourish the hair. Like, hair is two things. One is it's nourished by blood. So we would be looking for potential blood deficiency, and also yang deficiency can cause hair loss. Now, that's not something you're going to see in a TCM book. And if you don't have a classical Chinese medicine practitioner, you've just got a TCM practitioner, they may not be using warm enough herbs to help that yang move down into the place where it's supposed to be. And that's a game changer in terms of treatment. Now, I have had some patients with like hair quality, hair loss, hair as their main symptom. That's their main complaint. And they have been just simply blood deficient patients. And there's different types of blood deficiency formulas. So for some people, their blood is considered cold, and those people would have freezing cold hands and feet, or very cold hands and feet. And sometimes they don't even feel it cold. They're more like, if people say, "Oh, your hands are cold," there's a specific herbal formula that's used for that type of blood deficiency. That's not the stock standard TCM blood tonic type of herbs. A food kind of herb that can be used in your cooking would be something called dung gui. I'll put that in the chat here. Now, it's more of a herb than a food, but it is used in cooking. You can cook dung gui with meat, like with lamb shanks. That's a particular formula that's used comes right back from the Han Dynasty. You can cook the dung gui into a soup with other herbs. You often see this in Chinese pharmacies. That's something I'm working on this video at the moment with, like going through a Oriental grocery store, not a Chinese pharmacy, and sort of showing you what's in there and what can we do with these things. All these little packets of, excuse me, all these little packets of herbs that are there, this mystery. My cousin asked me about that. She said, oh, and she's nothing to do with Chinese medicine. She just said, there's a shop in Perth called MCQ. And she said, oh, what are all those little herbs in MCQ? It's like a massive, massive Oriental grocery store. So, it's like Perth's version of a Costco for Oriental, but it's not a Costco. It's not as big as a Costco, but it's pretty big. But for Oriental stuff, like this is a huge store. Like it's a massive store and it's just, all that stuff. So they have lots of fresh produce, fresh meats. They have their own little butchery kind of thing going on in there, and then they've just got freezers and freezers and freezers full of all the Oriental, Chinese, Japanese sort of meats and frozen goods, and then like all the spices and whatever, the sauces and things like that, aisles and aisles of that stuff. Like it's huge. So they have a really big range of these soup herbs that are there. So there's various kind of soup herbs you can use, and if they contain dungwei, if the soup herbs contain dungwei, they probably have the other blood tonic things, because they usually put those things in kind of together. So that's something you could include in your diet. Oh my goodness, my phone's ringing. Accidentally left my phone, like my work phone, right here. Sorry about that. Yeah, I'm just gonna. The message machine can get that. So we're probably going to finish the stream now pretty soon anyway, because I've got a patient coming in at 11 o'clock. So, yeah, thanks everyone for joining the stream. Don't forget about the course that's starting. So there's two things I wanted to mention in today's stream. I can hear that weird thing hanging itself up. If you are... making sure my doorbell isn't going. If you're new to the podcast and all that, make sure you subscribe. Thanks everyone for getting us to 10,000 subscribers. I'm super happy about that. Can't believe it. Awesome. Love to get 100,000. I don't know if there's 100,000 people that are interested in Chinese medicine, but please feel free to share the show, as they say, share it with people that you know that might be interested in this stuff. And I'd love to have you on the course. And if you're interested in the course and you have some questions still, you can book a free call with me just to talk about that, see if it's right for you. If it's something about money and you need a payment plan or something like that, just send me a message and we'll try and work something out. So cool, awesome. I'd love to see you again on another video soon, and I will be doing another stream soon to do this prize draw. So you can get in the prize draw. It's the link that says 10,000 subs in the thing here, and you go into the draw. I'm giving away one of the courses for the Chinese diet therapy. That's worth $1,200. And there's $2,700 ish worth of prizes giving away of the courses. So there's heaps of courses, like some of the little courses, the $49 courses I have, and some of the longer ones. And yeah, exciting. Awesome. All right. Thanks everyone. And we'll